After the whole fuss about winter coming, there have been reported rumors of Game of Thrones' upcoming sequel. To top it all, the entertainment media has spilled plenty of ink covering the possible release of the Game of Thrones spin-off. So buckle up as we'll be discussing everything you need to know about the Game of Thrones upcoming sequel. First up, why did Game of Thrones end? The Game of Thrones series is one that without any doubt has so many twists attached to it. From Jon Snow's resurrection to the Battle of the Bastards, there have been 1,001 moments that will forever remain cemented in the hearts of movie fans. The movie depicts two mighty families, kings and queens, knights and outlaws, liars and honest men as they play a treacherous game for control of Westeros' 7 kingdoms, and the right to sit on the Iron Throne. A much requested re-evaluation of Game of Thrones' most despised decision was made in the finale. Although Bran Stark was the only viable option, he wasn't the first pick for the crown. Jon Snow, the future king of Westeros, wasn't made king. Instead, Bran Stark, a wheelchair-bound adolescent who vanished for a complete season, receives the throne as the character with the best backstory. I bet that brought a lot of eyebrows up and left a lot of questions unanswered. This made numerous fans wonder why the series ended on such a note. Well, here we are again. There have been confirmed rumors of a Jon Snow-focused Game of Thrones sequel series. Next, will Kit Harington return as Jon Snow in the Game of Thrones sequel? In the upcoming Game of Thrones sequel from HBO, the popular actor Kit Harington is all prepared to reprise his fan-favorite role, Jon Snow. Kit Harington was earlier nominated for 2 Emmys, in supporting actor and lead actor in a drama series during his time on Game of Thrones. Following the series' 8 seasons long run, the actor starred in Marvel Studios' superhero movie Eternals last year. After the events of the Game of Thrones conclusion, the series will follow Jon's life after the Game of Thrones finale. The last season of Game of Thrones was acknowledged as a failure by many for a number of reasons. The figure with the most screen time and likely the most intriguing plot, Jon Snow, left fans dissatisfied when he just stabbed his own queen and returned to the Night's Watch. When Jon Snow left the kingdom and headed north with the free folk in the Game of Thrones season finale in 2019, it seemed as though his story had come to an end. However, it turns out that Kit Harington hasn't quite finished portraying his iconic character. According to a Hollywood Reporter, Jon Snow's character has a continuation because Kit Harington is scheduled to return in a forthcoming sequel. The source stated that the spin-off will center on Jon's experiences after the events of the Game of Thrones finale, while many details are yet unknown. And now for Game of Thrones characters who can return for Jon Snow's sequel. Jon Snow's sequel series means that several original Game of Thrones characters can also return for his spin-off, though some are unlikely to appear. Nevertheless, Kit Harington's return leaves the door open for several other Game of Thrones characters to return in the spin-off. It's still uncertain what conflicts might be featured in Jon Snow's spin-off series, but the most likely scenario involves a new narrative focusing on the ascent of a king beyond the wall. There aren't many characters who could return for Jon's story because the majority of Game of Thrones' significant characters passed away by the series finale. On the contrary, some characters who even made it through the season wouldn't fit well with Jon's journey beyond the wall. Arya Stark, who also made it through all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, hasn't been confirmed by Macy Williams to return at any point, but fans may always hope. She continues to talk about the show, most recently describing her surprise at Arya's encounter with Gendry. While it is still possible that they could make cameos, there are a few other Game of Thrones characters who can return for Jon Snow's spin-offs in more natural manners. So, will Emilia Clarke return for the spin-off show? Fans shouldn't hold out much hope for Daenerys Targaryen actress Emilia Clarke to join Kit Harington and other Game of Thrones cast members in obtaining their own HBO spin-off series. Emilia Clarke has admitted that she won't be coming back to the first Game of Thrones spin-off program, House of the Dragon. In an interview with the BBC, Clarke talked about the Jon Snow-focused spin-off that Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin recently revealed. After pitching the concept to Martin and HBO personally, Harington was keen to come back, and Clarke was asked if she would also reprise her part in a new series. In essence, Clarke spent her entire 20s playing the Mother of Dragons on Game of Thrones. She's one of only a handful of actors that appeared in all 8 seasons, which spanned from 2011 to 2019. However, her character's family will be moving back to Westeros, even if Clarke most likely won't. The first Game of Thrones spin-off series, House of the Dragon, which debuts on August 21st, will soon include the Targaryens. However, Clarke is now appearing in Marvel's Secret Invasion, which is an unreleased film in addition to the West End. Next, will HBO release another Game of Thrones spin-off? Interestingly, HBO has plans to unload a plethora of spin-offs based on their fantasy fantasy epic, although Martin cautioned that not all of them might be successful. Even after spending $30 million on the pilot episode, one was abandoned. Apart from the Jon Snow sequel series, HBO is reported to be working on another Game of Thrones spin-off titled House of the Dragon. The story's based on the Targaryen Civil War that took place about 300 years before the events that were portrayed in Game of Thrones. Prince Daemon Targaryen, a fierce warrior and dragon rider who is also the heir to the Iron Throne, is portrayed by Doctor Who's Matt Smith. The 10-episode prequel series is based on the book Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. On August 21st, House of the Dragon will premiere on HBO and HBO Max. An extra bit of fun to the news is that with its release date, House of Dragon will premiere just 12 days before another highly anticipated fantasy TV series, The Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power. This makes it all fun for movie fanatics, right? And now, will George Martin develop a live-action show for the upcoming prequel? The world and mythology of Westeros, which dominated popular culture throughout the Game of Thrones era, were created by the author George R.R. Martin through the novel trilogy, A Song of Ice and Fire. Readers of his books have a general idea of what may occur in the prequel series, similar to the situation with Game of Thrones, but readers and non-readers alike will have to wait for the episodes to find out exactly what HBO is doing with the Targaryen dynasty centuries before the War of the Five Kings. However, fans of the series will be disappointed to find out that Martin hasn't added anything to the series since shortly after the premiere of Game of Thrones in 2011. Martin has, however, been keeping himself very busy and has appeared to justify the length of time it's taking and reveals some information regarding his other projects. George R.R. Martin stated that he has spent a lot of time and energy on the TV series that will continue the Game of Thrones universe, and he is profoundly involved in every one of the new episodes. There are many works that Martin's involved in, from developing live-action shows for HBO to animated series for HBO Max. With the Targaryen Thursday celebration, Martin revealed that the first Game of Thrones spin-off had finished filming in February. Finally, who's in the House of the Dragon cast? A number of popular actors and actresses seem to be involved in the series House of the Dragon. Firstly, Sir Criston Cole, the son of the Steward of Blackhaven, will be played by Fabian Frankel, who most recently made an appearance in the Netflix and BBC One mystery thriller The Serpent. Cole is said to have no claim to land or titles. All he has to his name is his honor and his supernatural talent with a sword. Surprisingly, Outlander star Graham McTavish acknowledged to stylists that he will appear in the show, but he withheld any further information. Speculation, after McTavish was reportedly glimpsed on set in costume, has pointed to Harold Westerling, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. The project also just welcomed Steve Toussaint, Rhys Ifans, Eve Best, and Sonoya Mizuno. Toussaint will play Lord Carlys Velaryon, the most notorious sea rogue in Westeros history and the head of the largest navy in the world. Ifans will play Otto Hightower, the loyal hand of the king, while Best will be Princess Rhaenys Velaryon, a dragon rider and wife to Lord Corlys Velaryon. Expect to see these characters play major roles in the events of the House of the Dragon, and given their lasting presence in the book, it's likely we'll see them across several seasons. Though, as Game of Thrones proved, TV series aren't always 100% faithful to their source work. That's it, folks. You've made it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the following video.